This episode is not how to build your brand to 6 and 7 figures, right? This is here to say, listen, like we can work ourselves to death, but if we don't take care of ourselves, it might not be for anything. Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Rock Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Scott Boker, a serial entrepreneur on a mission to help you. This show is designed to teach you, to inspire you, to motivate you to take massive action and build a future-proof business. So, whether you're just starting out or taking your existing business to the next level, this is your home. Now, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's rock your brand. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast. This is episode 903. And today, I am starting with a little bit of energy because, well, this conversation could, well, make you not so energetic because, we're going to be talking about some life and death stuff. I did an episode back, it was quite a while ago now. It was 786, and the title of that was The Life and Death Game, Important Wake-Up Call. And that was a very emotional podcast episode that I did, and it was about a good friend of mine. His name is John, and he was recently diagnosed with ALS. And I talked about on that episode just how precious life is and how we all take it for granted. And, you know, health is a big thing to, to keep an eye on and to really make sure that you're doing the best that you can for your body and all of that stuff. And so what I decided to do is, it's been months since that episode aired. It's also been months since, my buddy was diagnosed with ALS. And actually, he's been doing really, really good. I mean, super good. The doctors are kind of like surprised that he hasn't really shown much signs of the disease kind of taking control of his body, which is really, really awesome. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get him on the podcast. Now, he's not a podcaster. He's not a guy that's going to be out there in the internet world. He's not going to be someone that you would have come on here as a featured guest that was, someone that has had these massive successes and all of that stuff. But what he does have is he has a really great story to share now, which I always talk about that with my son, Scotty. I say, whatever we're doing right now, whatever we're going through, it adds to our story. It's what we get to learn by us going through the different chapters of our life. And what I wanted to do, though, is I wanted to get John on and just have a conversation with him because he turned me on to Celery Juice. And he talked all about all the benefits, but all of the things that it does for your body, the cleansing, the detoxing, the adding all of the good stuff to it. But he's really switched his diet around, like 100% around. And when I had Darren O'Lean on, who also was an amazing guest, I asked him questions about what John should do and all of that stuff. And one of the things was his diet. And he knew of a girl that was diagnosed, and she actually showed signs of reversing it in a sense by her just switching up to a plant-based type diet. Now, I'm not here saying that everyone should go plant-based or vegan or any of that stuff. All I'm here to do is to let you know in this interview is that as you're an entrepreneur, as you're building your business, we can't lose sight of our body, our health. Our health is all we have, right? And we need to take care of ourselves. And John is a perfect example. He'll tell you, and you'll listen to it in this episode. Like, he wasn't the healthiest. He wasn't thinking about that. He was just thinking, well, I'm doing okay, and I'll just go ahead and pick up the fast food on the way home or on the way to the job or whatever. And now it's completely different because he's been faced with, you know what? The only chance that you really have right now is to get your insides, your chemistry, your biochemistry, like all of that stuff. All you can do is try to help that. And we talk about celery juice and the benefits of that and how he even discovered that. We talk about the things that he's eating now. We're talking about mindset. Now, John was never really a big mindset guy, but now he's a huge believer in mindset. And so again, this episode isn't about how to go build your brand to 6 or 7 figures, but it will help you get there if you have a better mind, if you have a better body, if you feel better, if if you remove stress, all of those things. So I encourage you to sit in on this conversation that I had with my good friend, John, and we talk about this news that he was faced with, how he dealt with it, how he got through it, but then also more importantly, what he's doing right now to give his body and his life, a greater chance of living. And so again, this is a hard topic because it's real. I mean, we're talking with someone that was diagnosed with this ALS disease, which is just crazy. But how he has a great attitude and what he's doing to really try to win this battle or at least prolong it. So again, I encourage you to listen and just start thinking about your own health, your own situation, and what you can do to improve it. All right. So enjoy and take care of yourself. All right. Well, hey, John, thank you so much, man, for coming on the podcast. This is going to be fun. And I wanted to get you on because, you've had some big news in the past and it has to do with health. And I really wanted to get you on to kind of hopefully shed light on this situation. And who knows, someone listening might have a resource that they could turn us on to. So how's it going, man? How are you doing?
Not too bad. As you know, I've been diagnosed earlier this year with ALS, which is pretty mind blowing.
Yeah.
And the Western, I call it Western medicine, the doctors we all go to and trust.
Yeah.
They don't really have nothing against them. They don't really have anything that's very helpful, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So there are other people, thanks to the internet and my daughter especially, that is in the medical field, has researched a lot and put me on at least the right track with my mind and basically my nutrition. And I guess that's what I'm here to talk to you about.
Yeah.
What I'm doing and how I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's incredible that, okay, you got this. I mean, there's a whole wave of emotions, right? That are like,
oh yeah,
you just to kind of lead people back. I mean, I did a podcast episode about after when I found out about it and how I felt,
right.
As someone that is close to me that got diagnosed and all of that stuff and kind of feeling out of, like not in control or there's anything that you can really do. Now we're at a place though that you've been diagnosed for, what has it been? It hasn't been a full year yet, has it?
No, diagnosis is one thing, but symptoms,
right.
Thinking back with this disease, go back a few years usually.
But when the actual, this is what you have, John, when?
Well, I think a lot of people in my situation may already know because it's a lengthy process to get the diagnosis because they try to basically weigh out so many other things that it could be a mimicker. Mm-hmm. So I would say when I really decided to something's not right, it's been probably about a full year. It's about this month that I actually started calling my doctor. We're back and forth and got the whole thing started with MRIs, X-rays, EMGs, all the things that go along to see if they can figure out what it is or what it isn't. And then it's a process of going to a neurologist. So it literally took about 2 months to get the actual diagnosis. But prior to that, my daughter in the medical field, basically kind of kept it to herself, but kind of already knew because she's just knowledgeable in neuro. She's a physical therapist, specifically in neurology, ironically. So she kind of had a heads up and started me on just eating healthier with some supplements and actually resources too that she's looked up and stuff.
Let's go back a little bit though. What were the symptoms? Just so someone that's listening, and I don't want to scare anybody, but I want people to realize how this kind of came about.
I have what they call limb onset, and thinking back, it was in my hands, just weakness with gripping things. Just grabbing something and turning it was just off. Just things like that. You put the credit card into the gas machine and swipe it out. I'm I couldn't grab it out like normal, but didn't really think much of it. And stories I hear from other people, they're like, that's weird, but it's not something you bring it up to the doctor, and I think that, you know, I talked to him. I started getting some aches and pains in my upper body, arms and stuff like that, which is part of it. And being that I took cholesterol medicine, and it can cause myopathy, which is muscle aches. And he said, well, start taking some CoQ10 medications that should help that. Saw him at like in my annual physical for a few months later. Brought it up to him again, and he grabbed my hands. But John, your blood work looks really good. And okay, I think that's when you were coming here. We went snowmobiling. So
yes, we did.
It's such like mild symptoms that
we rode hard too.
Yeah, absolutely. So things I would say about a year ago were pretty noticeable. I started getting some thumb twitching, and of course you're thinking it could be signs of Parkinson's, or you start looking up on the internet, and it's just horrifying with all the things. And of course it's a horrifying thing that I was told. Yeah. But the good news is there's some people that actually do pretty well with it. It's rare, but so we're kind of, me and my daughter are kind of following that lead of that's where I think we're going to step into. I know you want to talk about the celery juice. Yeah. As part of my protocol, I guess.
Yeah. But, yeah. So, and I just want to kind of go back to the crazy story of like your doctor, and we won't mention who it is and stuff.
Yeah, no.
But basically, you brought it up to him. You're like, could it be ALS? He's like, John, listen, if you had ALS, you wouldn't be able to do this and all this stuff.
So, I'd walk like what did he say? Walk across the room and come back. Yeah. Well, I don't know. He said something about, the way you're walking, you definitely don't have Parkinson's. But I said, well, what about ALS? No, John, that's just ridiculous. I'm like, okay. So he started me on the process of, he actually referred me more to a rehab specialist that did the EMG that tries to help people that, have broken arms or whatever. It wasn't really he should have said, you should go see a neurologist, but hey, it's a rare thing that he probably hasn't seen a lot. He's been around a while, but I just don't think he dug in and, took it serious, which unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, I guess, did I want to know sooner or did I not? I think you'd be better off if you did know sooner to get a head start on it, if that matters. Who knows? So,
okay. So you get to that point. It's a shock. Obviously you get the news. I'm sure, I know just from us hearing it, it was like we were anticipating and waiting. And then obviously you were, and we're waiting to hear. And then you guys, get the news, and then you let us know. And it was devastating for us, devastating for you.
Right.
How do you switch gears at that point and pull yourself out of that hole of like, holy crap? You know what I mean? Like,
hard. Well, at first it's like, geez, I got to do everything I want to do. It goes through your mind. And we did book a month later to go to Florida for a week with the whole family, with a new grandbaby and stuff, which was helpful, I think. It was actually literally before COVID. So
that's crazy.
We flew to Florida with the grandbaby and the kids, and terrifying, knowing that could have been, COVID problems. But anyways, so that, and then, of course, it's like you wake up and you just think you're going to live another 30, 40 years in your mind, because you feel good, but then now you're told that you're more than likely not going to.
Right.
So you eventually you have to get over it. What choice do you have?
Yeah. What choice do you have? Yeah.
Just try to be around positive people as much as possible.
Yeah. I want to talk about that in a minute after we get into diet and stuff, because I know that now you're big into positivity, and because of all of the research and everything that you've done, and how powerful that is, and how some people have used that as a tool to basically turn things around and be more positive. And So anyway, we're definitely going to dig into that. So let's dig into like diet and nutrition. And the reason why I'm bringing this up to anyone, like I've followed pretty good diet and nutrition. You know that, John, for a long time.
Exactly.
Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to have pizza. I'm going to have a beer. I'm going to do those types of things. But I've always had a pretty decent diet. I've always been about positivity, all that stuff. And you, on the other hand, you were interested, but weren't like, Scott, I'm going to go all in on that.
Well,
right?
being a busy lifestyle that I had,
Yeah.
I think I was like the grab and go type of eater.
Yep.
It's, it's just not. Yeah. I mean,
You're
I
on the
guess
run.
probably how the average American eats,
Yeah. It's like quick. That's why it's called a convenience store, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You go in, you grab a muffin or you grab an egg sandwich, and
I was trying to be getting like egg white on an English muffin, egg sandwiches, thinking I'm being healthy. Maybe it is a little bit better than the McDonald's one. So
right.
So yeah, I try to somewhat be healthy.
Right.
Maybe lunchtime stopping. They actually have great tuna fish sandwiches and bottle of ginger ale, but I always had to get the bag of chips, to go with it. So that was kind of a regular routine, And dinner, it's just the life being so busy. Sometimes it's between me and my wife. It'd be like, yeah, I'm just going to eat this for dinner. Yeah, I'm just going to eat it, never having to sit down just because you're busy in life. And
I think that's typical. I think that's typical.
I don't want to say horrible, but now from what I'm learning about food, I did eat horrible, So
right.
So I did like a 180 on the way I look at everything I eat at this point.
So, okay, let's dig into that. So, let's talk about your findings and your daughter's finding, Cassandra, and kind of let's dig into that, because I think regardless, this is good for anyone, whether you have a diagnosis or not,
Sure.
and the power of what you're doing. And also, just to let people know, like, you have these markers now, or you have like a kind of like a thing that you're being measured against at all times. Like, you go in, you get checked. There's these points. Right. They deduct points if you have, gotten less in a certain area, motor skills, whatever, all of these different things.
They just want to track your decline. And like I said, there's a couple medications that I haven't even taken yet, because actually the last couple visits, the neurologist wanted to do more EMGs because he's seeing that I'm pretty slow progressor. But I think it's a lot to what I'm doing. So anyways, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. So, and I agree. I think it's amazing that you basically said, you know what, I'm just going to go all in on this. That's my chance. That's my power. That's what I can control.
It can't hurt. It can't hurt. And I'm realizing that food can actually be medicine. So and that's kind of how I look at it now.
So let's talk about the celery juice real quick, because I just got into that here. Well, at the time of this recording, I think I'm 3 full days in now, where I'm having celery juice, 16 ounces every single morning. Right. So let's talk about that. Where did this come from that you even discovered this? I know you did a whole bunch of research, just like
it was
in your
more
daughter.
for my daughter. Like, to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't be anywhere on the path I'm at without my daughter, because she's number one, a very spiritual person. Believes in, it is what it is, Dad. I get a little emotional because she's been so helpful. But she researched and she follows the medical medium. I don't know if I can say that on your podcast, but he's someone who's very spiritual and talks to he says the spirit. So I feel like, okay, it's a little cuckoo, honey, but he does have quite the following, and he has a lot of good information, a lot of resources that seem to be helpful. So he's the one that actually, I guess, as a little boy, a teenager, I don't know, spirit told him something about celery juice to be a very healing. It's not really a vegetable. It's a herb, I guess. So anyways, that's where it all came from. I said, well, I'll try it. What the hell?
What the hell do you got to lose? Right.
And it was a pain, at first. We got the first juicer we got was a lot of work to clean, and it wasn't very tasty. It was like, okay. But then I start to look at it. If this is going to help me, I'm just going to stick to it. So we ended up getting a different juicer that he kind of recommends. It's a lot easier to clean.
Is that the one that you told me to get?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It works. I'm on my third day. The only thing I don't like about it is, the only part that's hard to clean is the very fine little meshing.
Exactly.
Where it pushes through. But I'm
right.
kind of figuring out a system for that. I usually like let it soak in hot water for a little bit while I'm making, you know, when
so
I'm
I think
cleaning
a lot of people do give up because it's like, it's just a pain. And it doesn't
And it takes a lot of celery, man. It takes a lot of celery.
Well, I don't know how much I learned about celery, but he actually had an audible that I listened to. There was a 10-hour audible that he has about the celery juice. And someone said, what the hell can he say about celery juice? But it was very intriguing. And it just talked about how healing the sodium cluster salts in it. But he was stressing on how important it is if you really want to use it to help cleanse your body or to use it alone. And it's very tempting to want to put stuff in it, which is fine for the average person. But for me, in my case, I just said, all right, we'll do it by itself on an empty stomach. When I first wake up, don't eat anything for at least 30 minutes. It's fine, whatever. So I guess it's the idea of that. It's hitting your, obviously your stomach, your liver, and beyond that, he recommends 16 ounces. You could do up to 100 ounces, but that's extreme, expensive. And so I just kind of stuck with the 16 ounces. And actually my wife does it with me, but there's days where she's like, nah, I'm doing coffee. And I'm sticking with it. I probably am doing it, I would say, consistently for 10 months, probably. And there's days where I do miss it. We're out of it, but I'll just go with like lemon water, at least as an alternative, which is good as well. So anyways, and it's just part of my daily routine,
It's funny because I actually started listening to that. I went to one episode. I wanted to go to the medical medium, and I wanted to just hear the one episode he talks about celery. And I'll link this up in the show notes. So if you guys are listening and you want to know like what podcast episode that was, I'll link it up. I don't have the number off the top of my head. I'll find it. I'll link it up in the show notes. And it was dedicated to just why 16 ounces of celery juice, right? And he goes through the entire thing for like 50 minutes. Again, how can you talk about 16 ounces of celery for 50 minutes? But he does, and it's not boring. It's actually interesting. And he talks about like, if you have 4 ounces, it's fine. It's better than nothing, but you're not going to get the full effect of it. And the reason is because it's traveling through your entire body and it has obstacles. And every time that it hits through one of those obstacles, it's diminishing, right? So it's lessening. So you want enough of it to get through. And he talks about just like it starts in your mouth and there's bacteria in your mouth. Immediately it's going to help with that. Then it's going to hit your esophagus. Then it's going to go down into your stomach. And he talks about all of the organs and everything. And he just kind of paints that picture of like what it's doing for you. So while you're drinking it, and you're like, this doesn't taste as good as a smoothie, right? With sugar in it. But man, oh man, I'm just thinking about what this thing is doing to my insides, cleaning it and helping it and actually reversing things that are in there and getting rid of the sludge and all this stuff that he says that just built up over time. And I don't know. I look at your results, John, and I say your results is like, you look healthier than you've ever looked to me.
And I do feel actually better than before I was diagnosed. And like I said, it was obviously my diet, sugars, and I've cut out a lot of other foods if you want to get into that too. But so celery juice won't be very helpful if you're going to do that and then eat a Big Mac, every day. So it's just a part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
okay, so I'm a fan of the celery juice now. I'm going to be doing it. Like I said, I've made it part of my morning, and I was messaging you in the other morning. It was funny because I did my first batch and I shot you a video, and then you immediately sent it back and you go, bon appetit, because you were having yours at the exact same time.
Kind of got my schedule. The dogs get me up like between 5, 6 in the morning and let them out. Kind of, all right, it's time to get the celery going. So that's my first thing. So even sometimes I'll even go back to bed for 30 minutes, let that set in there, and then I get up and I can, eat whatever,
Yeah. So I actually, what I'm doing now, John, is I get up about 5:30 and I have it all. It's funny. The night before I'll prep, like I'll put it in a little bowl, and I got all my stalks rinsed and everything, and they're chopped up in about 8-inch pieces. And then I get up in the morning, I pull it out of there, and I go ahead and I run it through Takes me about 5, maybe 7 minutes. Then I drink it in like 3 or 4 gulps.
Yeah.
And then I'm out the door. I take a walk. I walk for 30 minutes. Then I come back. I shower. I come out. By that time, it's an hour. That's when I have my cup of coffee.
Exactly. That's
so I've
perfect.
kind of built it into my schedule now, or into my routine, I should say. You know?
Yeah, and one thing I think that I've really noticed that it helped in me is I guess I do talk to a functional doctor, and they ask you about your stools, you know, which is kind of weird, but that's how they base, you know, how they can help you. And I was pretty regular in the morning, but they weren't apparently good stools.
Yeah, it wasn't good quality.
So he said it's more than likely, I guess, what he called a leaky gut. Which you have like a bacteria, good bacteria, bad bacteria, too much bad bacteria. I honestly believe that has, within a few months, almost totally cleared it up. And and it's a lot better now, but I think I attribute it to overall eating better as well, you know, cutting a lot of things out.
And so let's talk about that, the diet though, even further. I mean, celery juice is kind of priming the pump, getting everything kind of ready. What's the next thing? Like, what's the next thing? And are you 100% plant-based?
No. I'm pretty much off red meat. It's recommended. Organic chicken, but not a lot. My daughter says not too much protein. You know, you don't want to get too much. You know, whatever. There's some protocols that you want to include fruits, vegetables. They call them macronutrients that we all need: the carbohydrates, the proteins, and what's the other one? I forget. But anyways, I kind of have, the carbs, the proteins, and the fats, the healthy fats. So you want to get a right kind of an equal balance, or not an equal, but the right balance of those. And the functional medical doctor actually kind of, I started on about a year ago on a pretty good diet, and then he kind of tweaked it for me a little bit too. Basically, no gluten, no grains, no dairies. So you're like, what the heck? You know, so it's a shocker at first. But all honesty, after you get by that, and I looked at it as, well, if it's going to help me, I'm gonna do it.
Why not?
And so basically, I look at food totally different. Actually, you know, you probably heard the saying, "It tastes better," and I don't really miss that. You know, juicy burger and the bad stuff and the sugary carbs and stuff like that. So getting the right carbs too from potatoes, rice, stuff like that.
So like what does that consist of? Give us like a run through, like, you know, we're coming over for dinner. What's John got on his plate?
I mean, one of my favorite is just a simple, maybe some organic chicken with broccoli, asparagus, some applesauce, all of the above. It's always fruits, vegetables. Melissa has some nice things that she makes with a Instapot thing. I forget what she calls it, but it's all healthy. I include a lot of potatoes. With me, with this diagnosis, it's all about keeping your weight on. So you think, oh, you're drinking celery juice to lose weight. It's not that. I mean, I gotta still eat the calories because my body's consuming. That's part of what the disease. I mean, I can literally eat 3,000 calories and not gain weight. Most people would love that, but they wouldn't. They don't want to have what I have. But include nuts, a handful of nuts, no peanuts. You know, salads, of course, but a lot of fruit. The mixed berries, blueberries, red berry, blackberries. I try to have a cup or more of that a day every morning. You know, apples. You know, another thing with the medical medium, he stresses on like certain healing foods: celery, an apple, ginger, honey. I mean, I try to include fruit because I'm not eating sugar. From the bad sugar, you do need some sugar glucose. So including a little bit of, like, maybe 2 tablespoons a day, and that's what the average person can have. So,
and what do you do? Do you just put that on a spoon and just
I'll have it sometimes. Just eat it with a spoon. My wife's like, "What the hell? That's gross." I go, "Hey, it's delicious. It's really, I love it."
It's funny. Lisa just got some local honey, which is also good for like allergies and stuff, I guess, because if you're in the area, you're supposed to do it. But and she got some, and immediately I put it on a spoon, and I just took a spoonful of it. I'm like, that is friggin' delicious.
It is.
Yeah, it's really good.
Everything that's coming, I think we're actually born to eat what comes out of the ground, or whatever. It's just the world's just changed. So
we screwed it up.
The convenience.
The world screwed it up.
It is. Right? It's
our ancestors didn't have all that crap.
Right.
So what about like pinto beans or any?
Oh yeah, they classify them. I always say legumes. Everybody laughs, but I do a variety of that. Whether it's garbanzo beans, the black beans. So I try to do a cup of that a day, and a sweet potato in the morning with that. Throw a little cinnamon on them. Make it a concoction. The sweet potatoes have a lot of high nutrients in it and stuff. That was recommended by the functional doctor. So I try to include that every morning with the variety of fruits.
How are you consuming like good fats?
Avocados. There's something they call it. I know you're familiar with the MCT oil, right? Oh, yeah. Yep. So we actually had bought that when we were we still do the bulletproof. I don't drink coffee on a regular basis because it was just recommended not to. But I just said, you know what? Some of the guys that are in my situation say, you know what? I'm going to have it once a week on a weekend. So I said, well, I started that. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do it on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. And it's like, then people say, why bother? I don't know. It's a little treat, but I do enjoy it. And, look forward to it. Are you
putting the Kerrygold butter in it still?
No, I'm actually putting the MCT oil in it. I think because you do the Kerrygold.
Yep.
I just stay with the MCT oil because I actually take it's like coconut oil. I guess.
It is exactly.
It's a healthy fat, so they recommend a lot of people with my situation to take a couple tablespoons a day of that. So that with the avocados, actually the nuts. The mixed nuts. For some reason, doctor said stay away from peanuts specifically, but all the other nuts should be good. But then you don't want to eat too many because it can be hard on your liver because you're trying to the whole process of eating healthy is trying to clean things out. So that's this deal. So
you get the diet all checked in, and let's switch it over to like mindset,
right?
Because you've kind of become really kind of interested and also practicing, this positivity mindset because you're hearing good things about other people that have had it. Whether it's again, let's just say whether it's woo woo or not, I don't care at this point. Right. I literally just had this conversation the other day, and I had Darren O'Lean on, which you listened to the interview, which I talked a little bit about you.
Exactly.
And he was talking about it. Yeah, he talks about the water, how water is so different. And, if you're going to have water, this is how you should have it. If you can, get it in a blue bottle because of the rays of the sun and blah, blah, blah. If you put etching in the glass, he was even saying it could add more energy to the glass, which I don't know if I believe that. Sure. But you know what? The way I look at it is, even if it's not like accurate or even if it's not true, if I drink that bottle of water and I see gratitude or I see love on it, it's going to make me think of gratitude and love. And how can that be bad for me? Right?
No, exactly. So it has changed my mindset to like what you said, just that, how you think. I really believe that's a whole nother subject. Your thoughts. I mean, if you're going to be around negative people, I mean, you're never going to get away from them 100%. They're going to kind of drag you down,
Yeah.
So to try to be positive is huge. And even if you're around those negative people, I guess you try to deal with it and try to bring your positivity onto them. And maybe they'll catch on someday. Maybe not.
Maybe.
So,
Yeah.
But it does mean a lot, your mind. But I think that the eating healthy is just, it's like something I feel like I'm doing something to help myself.
Right.
And just maybe there's a lot of things in the pipeline, they call it, that may be available in the next year or so. Like stem cells. There's one particular one, but so anyways, just trying to set your body up as best you can for being ready to
Yeah, to
live
be ready
longer
for
or whatever.
Yeah.
Be ready
Well,
for
yeah,
that, or
to
whatever.
live longer so you can get to that point that you could possibly experiment, right? And like,
Right.
and be also in the healthiest state to be accepted, because
Yeah.
let's face it, they also want people that are at a certain quality, so that way they have the best chance for the thing to work. So
Right.
a lot of that can go into it as well.
It's also changed my view on medications for the past 10 years, taking statins, which, 80% of people probably after their 50s are taking a statin, which is a cholesterol drug. And basically my doctor is like 10 years ago, like, well, John, you're getting older. It's just part of it. It's like, it's either hereditary. You just got to do it. I take it. And so now that what I've learned, I just trusted him. I'm like, okay. And my cholesterol dropped and the numbers always look good. And then, I was actually hypothyroid. It was never like, geez, John, yeah, this is off. You should get this looked into, why this is this. Instead of that, it was like, I have a drug for you to take care of it. Meanwhile, everything you read about drugs is they can be very damaging to your liver. And you look at all the commercials with all these drugs and all the side effects that they say they have. It's like, okay, but I get it. If there's some magic pill that's going to cure me, I guess I'll take that chance. But I just believe if I paid more attention to the way I ate, and I found out I could get off them. Like within a couple months, I'm off all my two medications that I was taking, and the doctor that I'm seeing now, we're tracking it to make sure my cholesterol is okay and my thyroid.
And how is it now that you've been off?
Good, and that was as of August. So that was like, I basically stopped taking the statin in January, I think. Stayed with the thyroid pill, and then I said, "Geez, doc, I'm really eating healthy. I feel good. I'm not sure I need this. Can I ditch it and we check it out?" And he said, "Yeah." So he said, "Give it about 2 weeks. Go get some blood work." And he said, "Everything looks fine, John. Let's just kind of keep track of it. Maybe in 3 months we'll check it again." Because he said there's actually natural thyroid. I don't want to call them medications, but they're not really a medication that your doctor's going to prescribe you. I go, why? Right. They're never going to tell you that there's natural alternatives. It's like, it's just crazy. My whole thinking on the Western medical, and I don't want to say anything bad about doctors.
I get it.
I mean, but it's just like they're just trained. And I could go on about stories. There's a doctor who had MS, and Dr. Terry Walls, and she's reversed her MS, and she's known as the Walls protocol. So it's basically, she's trained to give people medication all her life. She researched for her own disease and said, whoa, food is actually medicine, so getting the right food. So that's a whole another subject. So there are some doctors that have changed their tune on, but they just don't stress it. Even Cassandra's in the medical field. She sees her patients coming in with a traumatic brain injury or whatever it is. And she's like, she would like to say, if you started eating better, she could get in trouble. She can't say that. And I go, that's terrible. It's like, but she's like, going with her helping me, I think it's opened her eyes to maybe a different career too, of going into functional medicine, because her degree basically is good enough to allow her to do that. And I think she feels she's a little upset with the whole medical field right now, because they're making her wear all these garments now, and she has to get her vaccine. And that's a whole nother story. I don't want to knock vaccines, but who knows what those things are. Part of my onset happened shortly after, I would say, when I really started noticing symptoms, a month or two after I got my whooping cough, because my grandbaby, you want to protect the baby. And then I got a flu shot, and then come to find out there could be like a trigger that could and I'm like, what do you mean? Because they actually put like mercury in it and aluminum in it or something. I'm like, what? To preserve the vaccines, but it's FDA approved small amounts. But anyways, we could get into it. So I have a different view on vaccines, but the doctors aren't going to say they're bad, of course, because one in 100,000 people have a adverse effect from it. So whatever. So
what have you found that your you're starting to do your research, you're starting to go through and figure this stuff out, and there's just not a lot out there for you.
Well, fortunately, there actually is a website that my daughter had found. It's called Healing ALS, and there are actually two journalists that went kind of public like 10 years ago, and they've actually found 30 cases or so of people that have actually changed around their ALS and are living 20, 30 years beyond their diagnosis. So some people might say, well, they never really had it. You know, it does hit everybody differently. But the stories to me, being that I'm experiencing what they went through, they seem pretty believable. But all of them actually say, they all go back to, all of them had refused to go on any of the medications that's prescribed to you. They went natural, they went with healthy eating, supplementations. And actually they say the biggest part was positive mindset too. So,
wow. Okay. That's great.
And, sleeping, exercising, which is hard to do with this because you overwork your muscles, you actually do more damage. So finding that fine line, I found my niche into riding a bicycle with the e-bikes with electric assistance, so I don't have to strain my legs, and I could go hours and I feel great. I feel like I'm moving things in my body, which is important. And that's what we all need to do, is eat healthy, exercise, get good sleep, and you can put your body into like a better chance of healing itself.
Yeah.
Possible,
well, yeah.
So,
and I know that you guys,
it's all simple common sense, but nobody does that. Nobody does that, you know?
No, because
I mean, nobody does that, but
no, we want to.
It's a go world, and we don't get enough sleep. We don't get the proper nutrition, and suddenly this could come and hit you. And so I wish I knew what I know now. So.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to do this. Number one, I wanted to get you on, and you and I could kind of catch up on the things that you've been kind of, because I talked to you, but like we didn't go like into like some of these areas as deep as I would like to go, just because I want to bring awareness to, yes, ALS, but just health in general. Like we don't take it serious enough.
Exactly. And that's what it is. And then the good thing is about the functional medical doctor. He's a chiropractor, neurologist, but he's kind of big into God, of course. And I'm not saying that I'm not, but he says it's in God's hands, and he basically says ALS is really just a label. It's and I think his belief, there's nothing that is incurable if you can get in the right mindset and the right food, and I think it is mostly the mindset, is to think that I can get better, whether I can, or like I would never feel like comfortable saying out loud I'm going to beat this. I just feel cautiously optimistic, so I'm doing all the right things. Maybe something will change,
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes back to one day at a time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I remember my mother, who was a recovering alcoholic for over 20 years. And I used to go to some AA meetings with her. And the big thing for, alcoholics and Alcoholics Anonymous and all that is the one day at a time, because you got to take something one day at a time. And
exactly.
It goes for all of us, right? Like, don't start thinking about like the year from now, the 2 years from now, like what ifs, because that may not ever happen. I just literally had this conversation with Lisa this morning, because you're out there, you're anticipating something that may never happen. So these stories that you're telling yourself are just, you're making up a story.
That, of course, you can go on the internet with this disease and it's horrific. That may be my future, but it isn't right now. So I just can't put that in my mind, but it is my reality. I'm not going to deny that, but it could go the other way as well. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows?
Well, when I asked Darren that question and you listened to it, he had a friend that was diagnosed, I think over 4 years ago, and she got her diet in check, positive mindset, like all of that stuff that you're doing. And she actually feels better now 4 years later than the day that she got diagnosed.
Yeah, I believe that. I've heard
those
stories.
So why shouldn't we shoot for that? Right. Why
Right.
shouldn't we be optimistic? If you feel
Right.
okay today, let's build on that. Right.
Right. Well, one of the guys that was apparently a reversal that, there's a few handful, and they're actually backed by some doctors.
Mm-hmm.
He knew something was wrong, but he actually from friends' advice, went to a naturopath doctor, like a functional. So they never, I don't think it was ever on his radar. So for 2 years, he actually got a head start, but he did still progress to where 2 years later he got the diagnosis. But he already in his mind was 2 years of eating healthy and the right track. And it didn't but I'm starting to feel better. So I think it's like when you get told this, it's just like, I think a lot of people are just like in a give up mode, and it's easy to be that way. But I think if you get your mindset that I can do this, these are the tools. Anyway, so his story seems very believable to me. So he's, I think been living with it 23 years, fully functioning and golfing and stuff like that. So anyways, not to get off track, but
no, that's good.
They all talk about how it was just, in a way, it is what it is. However it's going to go, it's going to go. But they all had the positive mindset.
So okay, so you said you feel great, and so go ahead.
I feel good. I mean, I still have residual effects if I do too much, especially with my upper body where I was affected the most. But I'm starting to learn that I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't do that. And that's another thing with this is you kind of have to change, put your ego aside, and I can't be that He-Man anymore that does everything and stuff. But anyways, overall, I feel really good,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, again, and for you, it's hard because just so people know, and I'll paint the picture. I mean, John, helped me build my house. You know what I mean? Like we worked.
Yeah.
I helped you put your roof on your house that you guys were on over there in Scotia, New York. And like John was hardcore. You helped me do some side jobs. We built decks for people, like all of that stuff. Like we just worked like animals. Yeah.
We ended up buying a camp. And so I had 2 places to take care of. I had a boat, snowmobiles, all the fun stuff, but it was a busy
shanty
life,
on the lake.
Running a business, which, just kind of runs you down, and as I'm getting older, I think a lot of that attributed to it, but I had fun. And now I'm in a different part of my life where people say, oh, you should start traveling, which we can't now, with COVID. Right. We're not, me and Melissa don't have the traveling bug in us, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But we have a new grandbaby that we want to enjoy. But so I just, switched my gears, and I think that's helpful.
So I guess what I'd like to we can kind of wrap up here with is, so for anyone listening right now that may either know someone that was diagnosed with this or anything for that matter. I mean, it could be cancer. It could be, anything that's like a diagnosis that you do not want to receive. What kind of advice would you give that person? Like you're there, you've been there, you're still there, but you're kind of through that like negativity, like the, oh my gosh, like what would you tell that person?
I mean, the biggest thing would be is hopefully you have, loving family and people around you. You just, I guess the best thing is be happy that you're here today, and that's hard to get through that, but any of us could walk outside and get hit by a car, or
Absolutely.
whatever. Yep. We don't know our fate. It's difficult when you're kind of told your fate, but I'm here now. It's the now. It's just living in the now. That you got to learn to just appreciate.
Yeah. And what about like, let's say the first thing, because I mean, the first thing that I would probably say, depending on what kind of lifestyle they're having, is I'd be like, you got to get your biochemistry right, man. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like you got to clean that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah. That's the number one thing. and slow down in life. I mean, just look at your
Mm.
life. We all live in a busy
Stressful.
life.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get the proper sleep, rest, and for owning a business, we really took no vacation time. And it
Yep.
was always go 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 mentality, and now I'm different mindset.
Mm.
I've been successful enough where I can kind of kick back, which is good. But
Mhm.
we still have the business. My daughter and son-in-law will be taking it over. My wife's running it still, and I'm still involved, but
Right.
not
Right.
to the degree I was. But if you can
Mm.
slow down a little bit, that would
Mm.
be very helpful.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
look
I
at
think it's reducing the stress, right? The
oh, that's
stress,
huge. Yep, that's
in
huge.
your life.
Yep.
And, I mean, you know the story. I told you this last year. I did a lot of stuff, right? Put my own event on, wrote a
Right.
book, doing the
Exactly.
podcast. You did our lake house, did that over Airbnb, like all that stuff. And I
All
ended up getting
right.
shingles twice,
Oh yeah.
right?
That's stress. That's stress that brings it out.
Stress, right? And so that's when Lisa looked at me and she goes, "Wait, what are you doing?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, we got to slow this puppy down
Yeah.
because, nothing matters if I'm not here." You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So, but, I do want to, I think I would even probably want you to come back on again. And what we'll do
Sure.
is kind of any learnings that we have as far as you going down this road, because you're going down this road and you're going down it to try to figure out what it is that can help you, but also what could help someone else that might be in your shoes
Sure.
or might be in these shoes 6 months from now.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah.
And just bring
Yep.
awareness. So
Absolutely.
I would say anybody right now that's listening that knows someone ALS, has ALS, or anything at all, and you have something that you think would be helpful to myself, to John, to anyone else in these shoes, reach out to me and let me know. Scott@brandcreators.com. Just email me, because my goal here is this episode is not how to build your brand to 6 and 7 figures, right? This is here to say, listen, like we can work ourselves to death, but if we don't take care of ourselves, it might not be for anything. We got to slow ourselves down. We got to do what's important, but also how important taking care of ourselves is. And that goes mind, body, and soul, everything in between.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but anything else you want to wrap up with there, Johnny boy?
Well, I want you to, I'm going to be checking in with you pretty regularly to make sure you're sticking with the celery juice.
I will, dude. I'm in. And I think also part of me being in is because I'm like, you know what? If John is doing this, he's doing it because he's fighting for his life. I don't know that I'm fighting for my life, although I am, because every day we're getting older anyway. And the way I look at it is I'm kind of doing it as a contribution to like you. It's like I'm having a glass of celery juice with my brother, over on the other side of of New York. So it's like I'm doing it also because I know it's the best thing to do for myself right now, and I'm also doing it as like a way that I'm like I'm connecting with John right now. So, but it's not bad. Like I don't mind it. I really don't.
And like I said, for me, it's better to drink it straight. But like you put a piece of an apple in it, and I don't.
But I stopped doing that after you told me.
There's nothing wrong with that. Well, I know, and then you'll find out every celery stalk has a different taste over time, and
it does.
Try to stay with organic if you can. I know it's a little bit more money, but it's a little cleaner because celery can be classified as a dirty, vegetable or herb.
Yeah.
So you need to clean it good before you run it through to. But
it's funny, Lisa.
Organic's always better.
Lisa put an order in the other day just when we were getting ready to juice, and she goes, "You need anything?" I go, "Yeah, I need 12 stalks of celery."
Well, it's amazing when you go through the line. My daughter will get it, my wife or I, and they're like, "Oh, what's all the celery for?" I'm celery soup. No, they're like, I juice and it's real good, right? I go, well, some people don't think so. Well, you can lose a lot of weight. I go, well, yeah, I guess, it's just it's just healthy.
Yeah.
We do it for health. But
you don't get into
so they
all of it.
Look at you a little strange. We were thinking of seeing if we could find a source that they could drop a case off. I'm sure there is, but
yeah.
Well, we'll see.
It's funny. It's like I said at least the other day. I go, we're gonna run out of room in the refrigerator.
Right.
I need to get that stuff. And she found it actually, it was Whole Foods actually had some organic for like $1.99.
Oh, okay.
I was
That's a
like,
good
man,
deal.
that's cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, because
And it was
it could
really
be
good.
three.
It was fresh.
Sure. Oh yeah,
You know?
you'll find bad celery, good celery, and
Oh yeah.
they all have different tastes to them. Some good, some bad.
Yeah. And it was
But
funny. It was funny because when I did my first round, I'm like, I remember the last time I had celery juice and I really didn't like it. I go, I'm
yeah,
just going to add a little piece of apple to it. I'll just add it. And I added it and it did sweeten it up. Right. And I'm like, oh, I could do this. And then I told you, and then you were like, oh, that's fine. I mean, you really should drink it straight, but that's fine. And then Melissa heard from Lisa that I put the apple. She goes, you can't do that. It's not going to be as effective. So I go, all right, let me listen to this guy. So I ended up listening to the medium guy there, and he was like, just drink it straight. Like, don't add anything to it. Drink it straight. It's going to be the best thing for you. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do what you're supposed to do. So
that'd be cool if you could get Lisa to reach out to him, Andy Williams. I don't know. He's pretty famous, but you never know. You've got some good people on there. He does try to promote a lot of books and stuff. So yeah, you never know.
I'm gonna have him reach out, and we'll definitely, and we'll bring you up, and we'll see what we can do. See what he's got for recommendations.
Well, he does have a segment on ALS. He's had some cases where whether they were really ALS or he may have said ALS symptoms because it's considered a mysterious disease, I guess. But no, he definitely does, and we're following a lot of them. He has like we could talk maybe another time about a smoothie detox, with blueberries and stuff like that, and spinach and stuff like that. We try to include that every day. So he's got a lot of good things. So that'd be cool if you could get him on.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely work on that for sure. I had something else there I was going to ask you on that, on the smoothie. So you're doing a smoothie too every day?
Pretty much. We do a acai bowl that we get some local places, or I make it with blueberries, almond milk, sometimes just water ice, some spinach leaves. You can throw cilantro there. It's like a heavy metal. It's supposed to help grab heavy metals and get them out of your system. Throw a banana in there. He's got the whole thing.
Oh, nice.
You could just Google medical medium detox smoothie, and the recipe's right there. So got like a Vitamix blender type thing is best to have.
That's what I got.
Try to include that every day.
What was that other? This is kind of off topic, but it's you. I remember what I was going to ask you. What was the other disease that almost looks like ALS that could be? What was the name of it? You were actually getting another test to see if it was like
Lyme disease.
Well, there's Lyme disease. No, but I think it was like a person's name. It was like a last name. It was like Johnson or something. Or
Kennedy's.
That's it.
Yeah, right. Well, still, my neurologist, I've been to 3 neurologists, and I've had 5 EMGs, and this is all, familiar stories with people. They go through all these, but I think my neurologist scratches his head a little bit because there's an upper and motor neuron involvement with ALS, and he's seeing the lower motor neuron. So he's trying to put a label on it. But I just assume say I got ALS as much as I don't want to, instead of keep getting poked and prodded and shocked, and so I feel like a guinea pig. But I respect him. He wants to be thorough, but that's a generic disease which tested negative, which I assumed, but he's seeing right now like a lower motor neuron, which could be progressive muscle atrophy, which leads into ALS. But I got him scratching his head because of everything I'm doing. It's helping, and he just made a comment. You seem to be a slow progressor, so I said, okay, well, let's get it to stop. So,
and what are the markers so far? Like, what's the top, and then where did you measure in, and then where are you measuring
they call an FCR score. Like 48 is a full functioning, so they take points off. Like I might be off a point or two because my hands are like I have a hard time like buttoning my shirt, turning keys, but I can do them. So I don't know. Yeah. So how's your pen writing? I go, Melissa goes, it's sloppy. I go, well, it's, how often do we write with this technology world? Right. When you think about it. So I can write fine. So he goes, I got to take a half a point off if you're writing messy. I go, whatever. So
it's been messy before I was even diagnosed.
I don't think he put a score on it. So It's a disease that affects people differently. There's a statistical thing online that I don't want to put my mind in it. So many years is the average, but it is what it is. But Cassandra this morning talked to somebody that she knew who had it that is progressing like really fast for whatever reason. So
really,
so who knows? It hits everybody a little bit differently. Stuff, but I honestly believe what I'm doing is helping. So
I agree. I 100% agree. The last thing, because remember I told you Darren had asked, or didn't ask, he was saying like the first thing I would do is get marked. Like I would get all my testing to see where I'm deficient and to see like where I'm high in this.
This is where you become kind of your own advocate, because the doctors look at you like you're cuckoo when you ask them about that stuff. But thanks to the Healing ALS website, they did do there was a recommendation to get a hair analysis. So there was a resource, a link.
Okay.
I mailed in the kit. It was $189. You give them some hair. They send that back, and it shows your deficiencies that are in your tissue. There was definitely some alarming things on there that my functional medical doctor had noticed. I had I don't think he understood it, but there was some of my nutrients in combination with heavy metals, I believe, were showing high toxicity, which creates the inflammation and all that. So that was in February. So I'd actually like to do another one just to see if everything where I'm at, So there are some resources, but it's a shame that you got to kind of become your own advocate. In a way to do all this research, because the medical doctors just aren't gonna help you with that, because it's funny, a lot of people say that you become more knowledgeable than them who are neurologist doctors, and in a lot of cases on what's going on with like the upcoming stuff. So unless it's FDA approved or whatever, they're not going to back it,
There's actually one that I seen. I think it was Dave Asprey had it as a mention, and I think I even heard Darren talk about it. It's called Viome. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Yeah, I'm looking at the site right now. Basically, it says Eat Intelligently, Viome's Gut Intelligent Test. You basically mail this thing in. I think you take a sample.
Poop sample.
Yep.
I haven't done that. No.
Yeah, and it's $149, regular price $299, and it's well respected in the industry. A lot of big names in the biohacking world recommend it.
Okay.
So yeah, check it out. I'm actually, Lisa and I are thinking about doing it just to see where we're deficient. Because I think, again, we don't look at our own chemistry. Not everyone is the same. Like we can say you're 170 pounds. You should take 2 vitamin Ds a day. Should I though? I don't know. Am I that deficient? You know what I mean? Like you're different than me. You might get more sun than I do. Right. So
I'm taking recommendations from my functional medical doctor, but he hasn't talked about a gut test like that.
And
he looked at some of my blood work, and he could tell that I definitely had something parasitical in my gut, that some number that he saw. So he's got me on some supplements to correct that, some probiotics and stuff. Anyways, but
I'm taking a probiotic too.
I'd be interested to look into that for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I think Lisa and I are both gonna do it. We wanted to do it just to kind of see again, like where your markers are, and that's exactly what Darren said. He's like, you have to know where you're at, right? Exactly. It's like you can't guess, and not everyone's chemistry is the same. Right. So you need to just get that tested, and then once you do, you can kind of see, okay, this is what it looks like, right? Let's take a supplement to help correct that. A natural supplement, or let's try to add more of this in your diet, because that will help with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think a lot of
cut you off, but my battery is getting low. So if I cut out, I guess we're done, but keep going.
Yeah, we are done. The dogs are barking. So I think that's going to be a wrap. But John, thank you so much, man, for coming on. We'll definitely get you back on to do a little bit of an update. And again, for anyone that is listening, that has any resources or that has any questions on this, definitely send them over, scott@brandcreators.com, and we'll do our best to help with more information. And maybe I'll get some more experts on here that we can bring more light to it, because honestly, I think we all neglect our health as much as we should. And it's, as you're younger, sometimes you're feeling invincible. We've all been there. John, you and I have both been there. Exactly. So once again, man, I appreciate you. And I'll be seeing you probably soon. I know Lisa's coming down there, but we're gonna probably hook up in January, I think, right? You guys might
Sounds
be coming
good.
down.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, man.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right. We'll talk to you. All right, Scott.
All right. So there you go. I know it was not a business building, brand building type of episode, but I do think this is as important as learning the next hack or strategy or tactic to grow your business. Because let's face it, without us driving the business, without us being able to pull the levers and all of that stuff, what good is it, right? We have to think about that. We have to take care of ourselves. And, I'm always thinking of how can I better improve my body? How can I prolong aging? Any of that stuff. And I think after you get past a certain, period of your life, you start to really think about it even more. But then when you have people around you that are diagnosed with things like this, ALS or cancer or any of those things, it makes you really think. And I really value life. I mean, I'm building businesses because I want the freedom that it supplies and all of that stuff. But if I'm not able to be here, right? If I'm not alive, what good is it? So we got to think about that, right? We are the foundation before we ever do anything. So just think about that and think about what's really important to you and how you can even perform at a higher level when you have better habits and you're healthier and you feel better and you have less stress and all of that stuff. Like imagine what your life is like when you feel like you're just running at full, optimal capacity and all of that stuff. So once again, guys, I hope that this helps you. I hope that you take something away here and apply it. Maybe it's drinking that glass of celery juice first thing in the morning like I am and like John is. Whatever it is, I hope it helps you in one way, and I hope it gets you to the place that you want to be in your life. All right, guys, so that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, remember, I'm here for you. I believe in you, and I am rooting for you. But you have to. Come on, say it with me. Say it loud. Say it proud. Take action. Have an awesome, amazing day, and I'll see you right back here on the next episode. Now, let's rock your brand.